Hello.
Good evening.
Hi, Joshua.
Hi. Happy New Day.
Thank you.
It's good to have you in our meeting today. And today we're just talking about the challenges that journalists face in the Nigerian economy. So first and foremost, how is the isolation on your side?
What isolation? Is there any isolation?
Yeah, because our present the governor of Lagos State just caught the coronavirus and
Are you in Lagos?
Yeah, I'm in Lagos.
Okay. So he caught it, I guess, with regards to those he's been associating with. For a large number of Lagosians, they don't think there's COVID.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move on to questions on my list. The first question is, what is the advantage of journalism in our modern day economy?
So that's tricky. That's really tricky. Okay. One moment. Give me a moment, please.
No problem.
Okay, I'm back.
No problem.
Yeah. So concerning the question again, I believe you meant the advantage of journalism in the modern day economy, yeah?
Yeah.
I think, I think they call journalists, or that field of work, they call it the sort of invisible fourth branch of government. It's as important as having an administration, having a government, in a society, in a country, in a state, in a local government area. And without journalism, without journalists, I think this world would be quite a non-fun place. I mean, a lot of things will go on and, there won't be people to talk about it. So, journalism plays a very big, huge role, producing content, informing people, educating people. And, all of these are really important. Providing content to shape opinions, making people's lives better, because with that informed decision, with the information, they can make informed decisions that impact their lives, their children, and, the society at large. So I think it plays a strong part, a strong role in informing, some people might say, a national identity, in Nigeria. I mean, who are you? What are you doing? What's your government doing for you? What's your local government doing? What's, the state government doing? So journalists in different parts of Nigeria, giving out that information, educating, informing, for the betterment of society. I think, that's really the key advantage of journalism today. But if you look at the economic angle, the economy, that's slightly different, because we're now looking at trends, we're looking at data, we're looking at statistics, we're looking at the importance of having journalists in today's economy, how they can translate the economic language, which sometimes can be tricky if you ask a business journalist, financial journalist. But they still need to crunch all the numbers in such a way that people, the public, can really understand what the government is doing, the policies that are in place, so that they can also take those informed decisions to help themselves, and then to sort of judge what it is government is doing and how it is in their best interest in the long run. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much. So moving to the next one. To become a good journalist, to become a great journalist, to become the greatest journalist of all time, Do I
And
have
that would be
to
what?
invest
What do you think?
financially?
Who do you think is the
Eh?
Let me ask you, who do you think is the greatest journalist of all time? Who's maybe your mentor or something?
Yeah, I watch more of CNN, and I categorize Aisha Sase as one of the greatest of all time, if you know
All
her.
right. I do. Interesting. But now I think she's left CNN. She's now doing a bit
Yeah,
of, something else right now.
I
But yeah, it's very vocal,
yeah.
Aisha. So your question, if, they need financial capability, isn't it?
Yeah, for example, as an aspiring journalist, do I need
Yeah.
to invest financially on myself or something, or invest to become known or something like that?
So I think I would say yes and no.
Oh,
Yes and no. Do you know why? Yes, because if you're starting out, let me start from no. No, because if you're passionate and you have the talent, some people have natural talent, knack for journalism, for looking for the stories, for going out there, chasing the reports. They have people skills, they get the stories, they talk to people, they're go-getters, they get the story, that's it. They're reporters like that. They're people with the talent, natural talents to read the news, explain in detail the stories, break down research and data. There are people that have the talent for that, and they might not necessarily be schooled. I mean, back in the days, you don't have to be schooled in mass communication, for example, to be a journalist. I think a simple diploma and with talent, you can start off with that. And then a lot of people grow in the journalism industry, the experience. And then there are certain others that want more. They want more experience. They probably feel they want to change. And this is where the perhaps, yes, financially part comes in, financial part angle. And that is they perhaps want to change the field from politics. They probably want to go into business. And so they feel they need more training and they go into journalism school. Or there are perhaps people like us who started out as lawyers, first degree, and went into journalism and decided, okay, let's really perhaps get more experience, background, and certification in the broadcast journalism industry. And then I did a master's in broadcast journalism. So, it's a tricky thing, but in the long run, if one wants to be a journalist, wants to branch out into that field, you need to arm yourself with all the ammunitions that you can so that you can succeed.
thank you very much. In the same line, looking at every firm, industry, company, there's always competition. So how do you explain how it can affect a journalist, an upcoming journalist?
So competition is pretty much life. There's competition growing up with your siblings. There's competition amongst your friends. There's competition, in church. There's competition everywhere. So amongst journalists, it's even higher. And amongst the media organizations, I mean, there are competitions we hold every year, the NMMA, for example. And everybody wants to be, to get the best role, to win at the end of the day. So life is competition, essentially. Asking about if it is healthy, asking about if, how it affects perhaps a journalist. It depends on the journalist, essentially. Some people are, feel that, yes, they want to strive for a particular thing. I'm a political journalist. I want to get to the peak of my career, and they work hard, and sort of they're working hard to the point where they really don't want anybody to stand in their way. It's the way perhaps one person fights. And the way another person might fight is teamwork. Okay, I want to get here, but you guys, this is a team. This is the output. We need to work together so we can achieve this at the end of the day and be the best. That's another method. But you see, two ways, they're all aiming for the same goal, the same win, the same prize. So it really depends on the individual, the journalist. Most importantly for me, I think, is the journalist must be able to do the job well, factually. There's a lot of things that could go wrong as a journalist because what it is you're doing. They say journalists shouldn't have an opinion. So journalism, gathering stories and informing people, educating people, entertaining people. That should be the key thing for every journalist, not necessarily competition. If you are looking at competition and you forget the basics, that your story should be factual, should be fair, should be balanced, you could in the midst of trying to be competitive and forget all those basics, and then that makes you a fake journalist, like fake news and all of that. So I think, journalists should be competitive if they want to be, but they should also make sure that the heart of journalism, which is balance, fairness, trust, which is very key, should not depart from them.
Thank you. Today in our world, COVID-19 has affected everything, every business, every line, every stream of income and stuff like that. So how has COVID-19 affected journalism?
So I think I'll use you as an example. Do you know why?
Why?
Because you said you're a digital journalist, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's essentially what COVID did to a lot of people, lots of organizations, and mostly a lot of journalists. We had the likes of CNN reporters presenting from their home. They became digital journalists all of a sudden from traditional media, television, yes. A lot of people went online, started doing Instagram lives, Facebook lives. So, it's a lot of, in fact, some people would say that those that benefited during the COVID-19 pandemic were a lot of the, Facebooks, the Google, because they sort of controlled the news. If you wanted to see what was going on, a lot of that you would perhaps, find out from them. So a lot of people became digital journalists. So the virus essentially did a lot of things. And, apart from that angle, there's also the economic angle. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of journalists lost their jobs. It reduced advertising revenue for, a lot of traditional media, print, and they all lost to social media platforms, if you understand what I mean. So that's the economic angle. And, there's also the health crisis. Some people contracted COVID-19. Some journalists did because they were out there chasing the stories, putting themselves on the line and contracting the disease as well. And in Nigeria, we lost a few of our journalists to the coronavirus as well. So, it's sort of like a huge effect. Revenue, that's the economy. Many people becoming digital journalists. And I must also say, at some point, it perhaps gave room for a lot of misinformation, what some people might call fake news. And this is because some people who felt they could do what journalists do, felt it was easy to just open up a portal, go online and start talking without facts, without checking. And which is why now there's the whole message to fact check what you're getting on WhatsApp, fact check the news you're getting on Facebook, fact check all of the news you're getting, essentially to make sure that you're also sharing the real news and not, the fake news. And Mampa would say true news that is true. you know, and not fake news. So a proliferation of a lot of single productions, let's put it that way, and that's also due to the economic angle, what COVID had to do to journalism. I mean, it's nothing like we've ever seen before. Journalism, the media has always been, in Nigeria most especially, an industry that has struggled. And when I say struggle, I mean in terms of salaries, as at when do you paying your journalists salaries? We journalists have been accused of, you know, the brown envelope syndrome for many, I mean, like, since I can remember. So COVID really affected a lot of people like never before. I mean, it's really incredible. And people are just, I mean, we thought we're, you know, getting comfortable and coming out of it, and then we're hearing of a second wave again. I mean, what do you think is going to happen? We're looking at perhaps states in the north, for example, that are shutting down schools due to spiking cases. And we're looking at journalists who also have to go there, report, bring out the information of what's happening and why. I don't know. It's really incredible.
Okay, that brings me to the last question on my list, which is almost relatable to the former question. What are the challenges journalists face, and what are the ways forward, solutions, stuff like that?
So I would say journalists face, the key challenge is getting paid for what they do. So that's one key challenge. There's a lot of journalists who are employed and are not paid, and this affects their work. It doesn't matter what anybody might say, what people might think, but this should be solved. This whole owing people for many years. I mean, I've worked in companies, media organizations, where I've been owed almost a year and was not paid. And it's sort of like gone with the wind, you know, I can't complain. I mean, who's going to fight my battle? So there's a lot of laws and maybe a lot of, you know, that isn't supporting, especially if you're working in a private company. So there's a lot of that going on. Journalists are not paid for work that they do, and this affects their work, and essentially their job is giving information out there. So it affects the information, it distorts the information. And this also fuels the whole brown envelope syndrome. A lot of companies, I mean, like my company, Channels Television, we have a no bribery, corruption policy, very strict, you know. A few other organizations also have that too. But the checks, you know, with all of this, if you're not paying your journalists, I mean, what do you expect? So I think we need to start with that. Maybe now, especially with COVID, the government needs to help with some sort of sustainable fund so that press freedom can exist, people can breathe, and people can do the right jobs, do the right thing, you know. Because without that, you know, all of that, then people will still distort the information, or they will take information based on information supplied by their paymasters, and that's definitely not what we want. The people out there, the average Nigerians, everyone wants to know what is really happening. They want more investigative journalism. They want to know what's really happening in the different sectors in the economy, and it's the journalist, the fourth realm, that can actually get all that information out there, break it down for the average ordinary man, woman to understand. So there is that salary angle. There's also the lack of research, which is sort of intertwined in what I just said. Lack of research or scientific capacity, and that has to do with funds. To do a proper research, to take a proper poll, you need funds. To do the investigative journalism, to go over to Kankara, find out how did this happen? What exactly happened? You can't just go there without a vest, without security. You can't just say you want to go and do NCIS over there. No, you need security. You need a lot of things. You need to plan. Just, sort of the way international media, when they go to Syria and other war-torn areas. So do journalists have that? Do they have the kits? Do they have those extra money for extra security? Do they? So a lot of the times, they blame us, oh, we're not doing investigative journalism. But are we really looking at the truth? How are we going to do this? A few organizations have correspondents who are in a lot of the cities. And these correspondents, try their best, with the resources that exist to really do all of these things. But I think journalism should be beyond that, should be able to go above and beyond. But with all of that, we also need that, perhaps, funding. So there is that, which affects the research and scientific capacity. A lot of people do a lot more of leaning on traditional, independent, sort of independent companies that help with research. So this is great as well. Also, confusing the medium with the message. So in journalism school, I'm taught your audience is very important. So who's your audience? They say we have a certain age in terms of 60% are young people. So, but how many people watch the TV? How many people are online? How many people are online at a certain time of the day, depending if they have work, if they're students, all of these definitely are very important. So if you don't know who your audience is, your message is confused and it is lost. So these are something journalists need to know as well. Then there's also public trust. Public trust is really key. COVID-19, for example, when it started, February, we recorded the first case. After a few months, the NCDC said that one of the problems that was militating against their messaging and all of that to the hinterlands everywhere across Nigeria was the public mistrust in government. Many years of that. So there's that disbelief with regards to what's happening. There's a whole lot of all of that. So this can also affect the media organization. If your media organization misinforms, oh, breaking news, have you verified? There's so many things to do before you put up a story as breaking news. Oh, something has happened in a certain place. Who is saying that news? Who's bringing it to the fore? Who said it? Does the person have authority? Have the authorities confirmed it? So if you have an organization, a print media saying breaking news, the moon is now in VI. The moon has fallen from the sky and is now in VI. Exactly. How do you verify that that is true news? And you put it there. And people believe you, oh, breaking. But it's not true because you haven't found out from NASA. Did the moon really fall from the sky? You didn't bring a scientific expert. How did that happen? And why is the moon for the whole world, why is it in Victoria Island? Okay, those in Victoria Island, did you see the moon? Where did you see it? Did any reporter go there? So many checks. These are some of the things you need to do. So if you have a media organization, print media, putting that without that, what's it called now? Due diligence. People lose trust. They lose faith in your organization. And I must say that my organization, the one I work with, as Channels TV, have always had that trust because we do all of the checks. We do all of the due diligence. Very important. So these are essentially some of the key challenges I think that exist, for journalists.
Thank you so much. You have any final words?
So my final words. Final words to me, to people out there, to the challenge of journalism.
Yeah.
Okay. I would say that it's difficult. Many people think that journalism is a celebrity thing, you know, it's like a celeb. Oh wow, she's a journalist. Oh, she's on air. Oh, she's got makeup. Oh, she's looking like this. You know, most people think it's like acting, movies, and all that. But if you notice, with the great actors and actresses are those with talent, passion for the job. And because they have the talent, they are passionate, they know the job, they want to know the job, so they acquire the experience and they excel. A lot of people feel they can just storm into it and before you know it, they are on air presenting. No, rudiments of journalism, you will start as a reporter. Now they do digital. You have to be multi-skilled, talented. You cannot just say, oh no, the only thing I'm going to do is read news. No. Tomorrow, you might have to present a program. The day after tomorrow, you might be told to go on the field. The day after tomorrow, after the next day, you might be told, produce this show. You know, it's dynamic. And the journalist, it's only the journalist who loves, understands, and is passionate that will keep at it. Keep evolving, keep being better, and keep being happy on the job. So I think that for everybody listening, and you say you want to be a journalist, you might not sound like me, or perhaps sound like Aisha to say, but you might have something else that you can bring to the table. You can be a producer, for example. So work hard at it. I started working hard at journalism from my secondary school. That's when I knew that this is what I wanted to do. So I started reading wide. I started buying newspapers. Most of my mates in first year, year one, thought, this girl, why are you just buying papers and reading? You're like my father, something, but I just, had the knack for just information, what's happening in my country, and that's something that, I've learned. So a lot of people who are planning to do this need to have mentors, follow them, watch what they do, ask for guidance, and be passionate about the job, and not forget the basics of journalism. Facts, balanced, fair, and they become trustworthy once, they have all of that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you for your time.
No problem, Joshua.
I'm going to send you the link to this video.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Nice meeting you. Nice seeing
you
as well. All right, then. Have a lovely day. And compliments of the season to you.
Oh, same to you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Have a holiday ahead.
Thanks. You as well. Stay safe.
Be safe too.
Bye.